One for the weekend. Hello, everyone. We're going to get straight into it. Man City or Liverpool?
Leeds United.
What is the biggest rivalry? Which team would you rather... Firstly, which team would you rather beat?
I'd rather beat Liverpool.
Why?
I think it's a different rivalry. I think Manchester City is a derby, it's a Manchester derby, but you grow up with your friends that support City. So if they win the derby, they're happy. If you win the derby, you're happy. But it's more of like a mutual respect. With Liverpool, it's a different story. I think it's more of a, it's gone back in history. Two great teams. There's a lot of history between the clubs, and I always remembered when I was going to Old Trafford, I always wanted the Liverpool game. That was the game I was excited about. That was where it was fierce. It was, the rivalry was very strong. Whereas City, you'd have games where one team would dominate, other team. I remember the City game against David Moyes and Man United, the 3-1. That's one of the best City performances I've seen at Old Trafford, and it was David Silva with Yaya Toure, and it was a really good team performance. So I think with City, there's more like mutual understanding. Your friends support City, whereas Liverpool, it's a bit like that's the other City over there, and they're a bit.
Well, obviously, there's the background of the two cities actually being rivals as well, with in the industrial sense. With the
Industrial Revolution, and that type of thing, and the ship canals and cotton, it goes back to that where there's that bit of a rivalry there.
The best kind of.
So, how was your time during the Industrial Revolution?
You see, maybe not great.
Yeah.
But the best kind of rivalries happen with something else other than football, I think.
And that's what I think. I think the Man City-Man United rivalry will turn sour. I think because Man City have not been near you weren't near you for a long, long time in the league. And so, it was a big game for you. But Liverpool were there side by side. I mean, never really getting near the title, but trying to at least. In the next 10, 15 years, there's going to be moments, isn't it? Especially when you've got Mourinho and Guardiola, in the same game.
It might change in a way where it was, like you're saying, that because those teams have become more competitive, the next generation will think, it's Man City that are the big dogs. You see, Leeds United is another one. I did mention it in a bit of a joke, but they're a really big rival to Manchester United. It is Leeds United, City and Liverpool. They're all real big, nemesis in a way. You never want to lose to that. You'll be absolutely be angry for a few weeks. But it's that sort of, they are competitive. So for me, it will be Liverpool, and potentially for the next generation, it will be Manchester City. What they're doing is very good. The training ground, the facilities, getting someone like Pep Guardiola, that really revolutionised your club. You see what Bayern Munich, how the effect of Pep. That's why Ancelotti got sacked, because of the training methods went from being so rigid, so structured, so good, to Carlo Ancelotti taking a bit of a backward seat, allowing his assistants to take training. Maybe it wasn't as vigorous for the players. You're seeing that effect still at Bayern. So at City, it's going to be for the next 10, 15 years. You'll see Pep Guardiola style of football, all that type of performances coming out.
And that's where the bitterness slowly creeps in, isn't it, Flav?
The anger.
Throw to you. If you go, bitterness in football.
I mean, it's the lifeblood of any rivalry, I think. I don't like this mutual respect bollocks, to be honest. I like pure, bitter hatred. I hate Arsenal as much as I love Tottenham.
In your body, is it like a good stat is soothing to Statman Dave? Is a bit of bitterness, that pang of bitterness, is that soothing to your core, Flav? I'm never more at home and more comfortable in a derby against Arsenal just outside the ground before going in. Because you haven't lost yet.
There's that. But there's this thick atmosphere, and it makes you feel alive. And therein probably lies the difference between me and Dave and the way we view football. And there's nothing wrong with the way Dave, you're interested in the finer aspects of the game. I don't understand them, but there's something special around football as well as the game itself. And bitterness, hatred, and bile are the lifeblood of that.
I think the big thing, you mentioned a long time, Manchester City hadn't won a trophy in 34 years. It was a good song that United used to sing. But again, you go back to that period, United were in the Champions League final against Barcelona. Obviously, they lost there. But I still remember ringing up mate and saying, well done. Next year, we're going to win the Premier League.
You are too nice.
It's that kind of...
How could you, though?
Because he's your mate. You've grown up with him. You're not going to I think with London, for example, it's a bigger place. Arsenal, Tottenham, Arsenal from the south, Tottenham from
QPR,
North London.
Yeah.
You got QPR. Yeah. It's a bit different. It's not like you going to school with those guys.
No, I appreciate that. I went to Highbury Grove School, so I was surrounded by them.
And a lot of United fans, right?
There probably were more United fans in my school than Arsenal.
Absolutely. The big rivalry at school for me in Surrey was Arsenal Man United throughout that time. Probably more Man United fans than anyone else.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Most successful club of all time in England. So it's just one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is the One for the Weekend podcast. Welcome to it. Before we get straight into it there, before we gave you a few bits of admin, this is brought to you by FanLeague. We are all part of the FanLeague.
Big up FanLeague.
Big up FanLeague indeed. And we'll talk about the pressures of that maybe on you, Dave, in a sec.
I'm going to get my absolutely sterling performance last week just up on my FanLeague app, which you can download right now.
So yeah, we have our own league. Join that league. Got some great names in there, and we'll add you to it actually as well.
Anyone wants to join my league as well? Then
Exactly. Yeah.
You add Dave as a friend, and he'll
become my
you out
friend.
of the league.
Yeah, sort you out.
What's your username on it?
I think it's just Statman Dave.
Statman Dave.
Honest, keep it simple.
If you want to be in our league, add me, James Alcott. Later in the podcast, we're going to talk briefly about the fact that I'm going to meet Sven-Goran Eriksson tomorrow. I'm going to a party. I'm going to party with Sven-Goran Eriksson. What a weird week.
Imagine the debauchery.
Oh, hopefully it's going to be great on my part, not on Sven's. Class act.
I've seen him party.
Of course, yeah.
Animal.
Really?
Yeah,
Incredible.
at your wedding.
So that's going to be very interesting. And with the app, there's 13 games in English football that you need to try and predict and get as many as possible. If you get a decent amount, then you can make some decent money. So at the end of it, I want to predict a couple of things. I want to predict what is Sven's favourite colour, what's his favourite food, and what's his favourite band. Ooh. So you let that marinate for a bit. Okay. Let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to Bull Street yet, then do that right now. And yeah, as I said, check out the app. You can also win £1,000 if you go on the Facebook page, like the Facebook page, and then download the app and invite 2 people. So that's decent money, isn't it? You might as well get involved in.
I've got 29 friends.
That's great.
29 friends on the FanLeague app.
Right, good. Say that.
Yeah.
Not 29 friends in general.
Is it my time to tell you how I did last week?
Go on, mate.
I got 4 out of 13. I got 4 out of 13. 4.
That's almost impressive.
Yeah.
It's almost impressive.
It's unbelievable. I got Man United at home, banker, and then Villa at home, and Burton. It's like I'm terrible.
You are bad. Man.
Really bad.
You've been bad so far. DT's been very good. He's got the highest average.
Sickening.
Sven's average is 8.3 out of 13. Mine is 7.9. Yours is 8.
So I'm doing all right.
You're doing okay.
Yeah,
is there pressure when you step into this kind of arena where you've got to predict things?
It's a little bit, yeah, I think so. Because I obviously pretend that I know stuff, so it means that I've got to perform. But I think I've done all right. Kept it reasonable. Like, there's room for improvement. It's the games like Burnley versus Everton where I should have gone with the Burnley win, of course, and I didn't. I thought Everton would pull it together against Burnley. I thought centrally they'd do all right, but it's the same old problem for.
Because it's a shambles down there.
It is a shambles, and it's something that's quite interesting. A lot of people, I remember being like, oh, Gylfi Sigurdsson, what a signing. Pickford, what a signing. Michael Keane, what a signing. But if you look at the signings, they're not good signings. They're not
right
signings.
Now.
I don't think they're going to be good signings full stop.
Well,
I think
they're players that probably wouldn't get in any of the teams above them, and that's ultimately what they have to do. Spurs managed to find a way into the top 6 by taking punts on very, very good prospects.
But they also signed players that could play in wide positions, which Everton just haven't done. I think the other thing with Everton, they've gone from having Tim Howard, who was a very reliable Premier League goalkeeper, to not having a reliable goalkeeper for season after season after season, and now they've signed a young goalkeeper. If you want a reliable goalkeeper, you don't go young, you go old, you go someone with a bit of experience, a bit of age. Jordan Pickford has a number of technical issues. I think one of the problems is he can't
Everyone's
hold on
been
to
raving
balls.
about him though, haven't they?
So I think the big thing with Pickford is he's a very, very good keeper, and he will be a very good keeper. But there's little things like, for example, making a save and it going out of the penalty area. That's a big thing for keepers, especially at the top. See David De Gea now. He's moved from being a keeper that was very poor at the start, that couldn't get out of the penalty area when he was parrying, to then taking it out of the penalty area with his parry. Now he just catches it. And it's that transition of a keeper that it takes time, and having someone that's 21 years old and expecting him to be right now the best thing since sliced bread. Look at the likes of Jack Butland, how long it took him to get adjusted. Fraser Forster, 2 English keepers. It takes him a while. Fraser Forster still has some technical issues. Jack Butland should be England #1 by a country mile. I still don't understand why Joe Hart's there. But the thing with Pickford, it's going to take time, and throwing all that money at a keeper that's not bang straight in your first team, that's going to massively perform and keep you clean sheets, win your points and that thing, for me is a waste of money.
Good, isn't he?
He is good, isn't he?
Well, that's just how.
Yeah, but how good?
How good? How good is he?
So be
we'll
ready.
Find out a bit later.
If you like a quiz, then stick with us because we are going to. Flav, go on, take it away. Tell them what. At any point there could be a trivia ambush.
Do you know what this is, Jim?
What is that?
This is top of the league football trivia set to me and you.
Yeah.
But to Statman Dave,
It's the end of his career.
I say it's game over.
This is truth serum.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Yeah.
So just think of this as a test.
Okay.
All right. You might come when you're on your own videos.
Yeah.
You've got editorial control. We have the editorial control here.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good point.
So at any point, if you get too big for your boots,
if Statman Dave winds me up with some sort of sense, or stats or something that makes me feel inferior, I'm going to hit him with a question.
You're gonna drop a trivia bomb on him.
What type of trivia is there?
That's for you to find out,
Yeah,
Statman
well,
Dave.
We're talking like what grounds are
We'll
called.
ask the questions here, Dave. You
This is
just
not
calm
your
down.
podcast.
Talking like the top scorer in Europe's top 5 leagues this season. What are we talking?
Look,
We're not talking about that.
Don't worry about
You'll
that.
find out soon enough. So we've also got universal footballing truths, and we've got soldiers lost in battle. Great advertising for top. That's fine. I'm not got a problem with that. But the big game, of course, is Liverpool versus Man United.
Yes, it is.
And it would be silly for us not to preview that in depth because it's 2 years since Klopp arrived, and Mourinho's in his second season. We're at a point now where both teams, well, Man United certainly need to start delivering. There are massively high expectations when it comes to Man United, and it's been a great start. You're struggling with that paper, aren't you? Maybe keep it away from the mic.
There's some
Right.
brandy in that coffee.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
And Klopp, for the first time, there's a tiny bit of pressure on him. So the news that Mane's not going to play this game and he's going to miss 6 weeks, we saw last season they won 1 game in 7 when he was at the African Cup of Nations. How annoyingly shit is that injury to Liverpool when you're coming into this game? Because it feels like a huge game for both teams. Man United I don't think have been tested truly in the league yet, and this will be the first chance for that. And for Liverpool, it's been a poor start.
I think Sadio Mane is a big player for Liverpool, as you mentioned. I think Coutinho was the only player who was directly involved in more goals last season. But I think what he gives them is that pressure and the pace and the agility. And he's a creator. And the thing that I thought was good for him this season was how he was switching with Firmino. Firmino's form's been pretty poor last 4 games, not scored a goal, not registered an assist. And he's playing as a striker. That's not great. He's not really contributing in an attacking sense. His form looks a bit shot. But what he was doing with Mane was he was switching the positions. You think of some of the goals that they scored where one of them would go in behind and they'd combine. I think there was a chip that Firmino may have scored that came through a move where Sadio Mane ran in
Watford,
behind.
wasn't it, first game? I think.
And I think the big thing there is if you've got 2 players that run in behind, you've got Salah on one wing, Mane on the other, it opens up more space for Firmino and Coutinho to play make.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing with this Liverpool system. I think they're really poor out the back when they're building up the play. But when they get it into that final third to Coutinho between the lines or Firmino between the lines, and they've got that option to look ahead to Mane or Salah, there's a lot of variation in that attack, and I think it's a big problem for them. It's not a big problem. I think there's players that can come in, but obviously they'd want him there.
Yeah, 2.2 goals they score on average when he's playing, 1.6 without him. Is he a bigger loss than Coutinho was in those first few games? Or is it a case of if you really want to be way too good for teams, because we see this in the Premier League every week now, that teams are very organised in terms of, and you've seen that with Liverpool, they've had so many shots, they've dominated pretty much every game they've played, haven't been able to finish teams off. Is that because they are able to have a bit more shape and structure? Because Salah and Coutinho is great, but having 3 it's too much then for you to kind of deal with all 3 of them.
I think that's a very good point. I think the big thing with Liverpool, as I mentioned, their build-up's very poor. Yeah, they've had loads of possession. Yeah, they've had loads of shots. But the position of these shots, the chances they're creating is very, very poor. And for me, it all comes back to Dejan Lovren at the back. I think Dejan Lovren is very, very poor on his left side, and he's playing as a left centre-half for Liverpool.
He's been playing on painkillers as well for a little while now. He was saying that he's like getting through games is a real struggle for them. So
What's wrong with him?
It's all sorts. I think it's his back. I don't know. But he basically came out and saying, "Look, I need to do this right now to keep playing." But you're not gonna play as well as you want if your body doesn't feel right. Because the whole aim of painkillers is that you're not gonna actually make it any better afterwards. Yeah. You're gonna feel worse, and there's that negative cycle with that. It's gonna make it difficult.
A lot's been said about Liverpool's defensive problems. Obviously, they conceded lots of goals, 5 against Man City, and they only had 10 men in that. That said, you still shouldn't be conceding 5 goals, no matter who you're playing against. What is it about individual error, or is it something more concerning than that? Is it about Klopp's tactics?
Yeah, I think it's systematic. I think it's a systematic problem at the moment for Liverpool. I think something that I showed you before. It's to do with them in central midfield. They're not very aggressive anymore. When
they're running less, aren't they?
They're running less, but the running stats are interesting. It does tell that factor. They're just not pressing anymore. They're not gegenpressing. They're not counter pressing, which means that teams, when they win the ball in the middle of the park, basically are playing against this high line, and it's so easy to play a ball in behind So, the example Jamie Vardy against Liverpool, the 3-2, that Vardy won a penalty, could have been 3-3. They also had a goal in that game, Leicester City, that was ruled offside, that was actually onside. Okazaki at the back post that poked it in. But anyway, back to that Jamie Vardy move. You see Andy King receive the ball, win it back off Mo Salah. 3 Leicester City players go towards Mo Salah. There's no support to him. He loses the ball, then there's no support on the press. There's so much space, and he plays a lovely ball outside the boot, behind the defence goal time. Well, penalty, they didn't score off that. Go to the Newcastle game. You watch it just before the international break. Same thing happened. John Joe Shelby won the ball in central midfield. Nobody pressurised him, and he played just a simple ball through the middle of the half.
That wasn't even a diagonal ball. That was literally just one ball over the top.
It was a nice ball. But he had acres to hit.
He had acres to hit it in time.
So are you saying that Klopp's abandoned the gegenpress?
I think it's Adam Lallana. Honestly, I think Adam Lallana is so important to this press. You kind of saw that a little bit with Shinji Kagawa at Dortmund. You saw that with Mario Götze. These midfielders that work quite hard. And Adam Lallana was that. Adam Lallana was the tempo setter. Arguably was playing maybe ahead of the 2 other central midfielders. Now we're seeing maybe 2 and then 1 behind. And I think that's one of the components that without Lallana, there's no trigger. Without Mane, there's no trigger.
He's the captain of that press, if you know what I mean. He's got the intelligence to go, now we go. And that's a great point, that not having him around. People almost laugh at that because we like to laugh at English footballers, but he is a huge thing for them. And last year they were so good in that. And I guess if you might be ready to run as much because those stats do show that, but if you're not going to all go in one go, then it's pointless, right?
That's the big thing, isn't it? It's like the 5-second rule, whatever Klopp's second rule or whatever it is, until they transition back into their defensive structure. The press needs to be there. And those goals, as well as the one against the Manchester City one, the Aguero opening goal, same thing, watch that back again. Central midfield, ball goes out, City win it, Kevin De Bruyne just sits there and plays it. You want to give Kevin De Bruyne a space in central midfield? You're mad. Jordan Henderson's position's poor, Emre Can's position's poor, and arguably what Klopp needs to do, the 4-3-3 worked because he transitioned from the 4-2-3-1 that was failing at Dortmund. Now he needs to go back to that 4-2-3-1. Think of the Spurs, how well they've pressed in that system, how well Dortmund pressed in that system. The reason why Lallana was so good was because he was playing ahead. Wijnaldum is absolutely rubbish. I don't know what he does on the pitch. Honestly, when you watch him...
Sorry, Dave, I'm going to have to stop you there because he's one of my favourite players. Who is the only person to have scored in the Merseyside, Manchester and Glasgow derbies?
Oh my God. Danny Mills?
Nope. Merseyside, Manchester and Glasgow derbies.
Andrei Kanchelski?
Kanchelskis. Your player. He's a Man United player. Doesn't know his name.
Carry on.
Questionable. Seems to know his stuff, but not when it comes to the trivia.
I thought I got it right.
In the end, nice ambush there.
Yeah.
Nice gegenpress with your trivia there. That was good. The opposite can be... let's finish off with Liverpool. So what do they do to... Who plays and who plays where? Who plays on that left-hand side if you haven't got Mane and you haven't got Lallana?
I think it's got to be Coutinho. I think Coutinho is probably going to be pushed out to that left wing. They go with Chan, Wijnaldum and Henderson in midfield. Again, that midfield is so strange. The positions that they pick up, I don't understand it. Sometimes you'll see Henderson ahead of them. Sometimes Henderson's behind. Sometimes they're literally sat as like 1-1-1 in a flat plane. Again, you'll know with Spurs that the big thing with Pochettino is this zonal organisation and attack. Never be on the same plane as an attacker because you're offering your teammates.
So people don't understand what you mean by plane.
So for example...
It takes you from one place to another.
Right. So for example, you have a defensive midfielder that's sat in the middle. And you've got 2 players ahead of him. They're not in the same plane because they're not
in the same line.
Not in the same line on the pitch.
Yeah.
What you're seeing with Liverpool sometimes is literally Henderson sat, let's say he's on the centre circle, then directly towards the goal you'll see another player, then another player.
Right.
And the issue there is there's no passing options.
But isn't that, if that's your starting point, does that give you the in between the lines pockets to go into?
So that's their finishing point.
Right.
That's the problem.
I see.
They're not in good positions to recycle the ball.
And if you want to do it for a first time pass, then they need to be there already. Otherwise it's going to be too slow a phase of play.
You want to break the lines, that's what you want to do in football. You want to get into, you want Coutinho to be the guy receiving the ball in between the lines, or you want Emre Can maybe there. I think he's a good player, he will be a good player, just inconsistent. But at the moment they're so flat, they're so central in a way. There's just no option for them to play, and I think that they can't build out the back because of Lovren's weakness on that left foot.
So you're not better off having someone like Chamberlain playing out wide, be it on left or right, to allow Coutinho to stay in between those lines? Because what you're going to have with Man United this weekend is, I would presume, they will defend deep. Yeah. That's what they do well against a big team.
I think it's a big thing. It's going to be a big battle, I think, between the two midfielders. United would have dominated if Pogba and Fellaini were fit. I think playing a midfield of Pogba, Fellaini and Nemanja Matic against Liverpool, that's too much power, there's too much pace, there's too much ability just to sit and be like, come on, break us down. You're going to be able to get through Mara and Fellaini. I think the thing with Coutinho, he's really good at when he's on the half turn and he can spin you and then he's at you back four again. And again, with Ander Herrera in there, sometimes he's a little bit giddy when he's in those positions, and instead of holding and making Coutinho make a decision, he'll go, Coutinho will spin him, and then he'll have a decision where he hasn't got a man on him.
And this stat I thought was quite good, especially if they're going to play Man United, you're going to defend quite deep, so it's going to be important. You're not going to get in behind them.
Yeah.
Philip Coutinho scored 17 goals from outside the box in the Premier League. That's 3 more than any other player since his debut, 2013. We know him for that, don't we? Sort of edge of the box, just put it in the top corner. So to play him, I guess maybe if you start him out on the left and he can move in and do that, but I wonder if you're better off kind of finding a way to get him in a bit more of a central area. I don't know.
I think you need to just be aware of what he's going to do. I think, in terms of him scoring the most goals, but he takes a lot of shots from outside the area. He wastes quite a lot of possession doing that. I think this season, in the last 4 games since his injury, I think he's had something like 19 shots and scored 3 goals. It's not the greatest conversion rate.
I mean, if you was a Liverpool fan, and my feeling here is that there may be a little bit of bias coming through. Mm-hmm. Is that true at all?
Between Liverpool?
No, between your opinions of Liverpool.
No, I think
you are absolutely crucifying them here.
I think there's issues. I think Salah is going to be the guy where I'm like, that's the danger.
Yeah,
that's where on that left hand
so
side you go with Ashley Young, not a natural defender. Ashley Young's been so good going forward, so good at providing that width in the final third. You think of the goal against Basel that Lukaku scored, Southampton. He's just been getting forward and crossing.
Do Man United fans? If Man United played Liverpool in this game and play like they did this time last year, how will Man United and get a draw? How will Man United fans respond to that? Because that, as much as that is effective, it's not the Man United way.
It is the United way. This is the thing. It is the United way.
It's not the United way.
We beat Arsenal with.
No. That's Mourinho that's United under Mourinho.
So this is my point, right? So Ferguson, right? Raphael, Fabio, John O'Shea and Darren Fletcher beat Arsenal 2-0. Great game, great performance in midfield. Why is Mourinho now getting slated for doing the same thing?
I guess because Ferguson
maybe.
You couldn't criticise Ferguson.
There were still moments where over a long period of time, I guess. I mean, maybe do look at it with rose-tinted glasses, but there were games where Man United would absolutely blitz teams as well.
Most important game in their history in the whole of Ferguson's reign for me was that semi-final against Barcelona in the Champions League at home. What did United do? They sat deep, they defended in a 4-4-1-1 and Paul Scholes scored a wonder goal. I think this is the big thing.
Maybe.
People go back and United are wonderful on the break. Why did Ronaldo score that great goal against Arsenal? Why did Rooney score that great goal? Because they're sitting deep and they're counter-attacking. It's not changed.
It's how, I guess, a manager who can adapt and show a certain type of tactical awareness depending on their opposition is ultimately a good manager. If he knows the limitations of his side, there's nothing wrong with being a little bit more
That doesn't make you a little bit
pragmatic.
sad,
What? Why?
Can I give you an example where Spurs played so defensive against Dortmund at Wembley because we knew they would carve us to pieces, but because we were so deep, they played brilliantly well around the pitch. They even created a few chances, but their line was so high that every single time we broke, we looked like we were going to score. So while they looked dangerous,
you've got space, haven't you?
And it just so happened that we were very effective going forward. It looked like we played really well, but on other games we wouldn't have been, but we've still been as pragmatic in defence.
Maybe that's just I was going to say that was a constant evolution of football, but maybe it's not if Fergie's been doing the same thing.
Well, the amount of money you spent, you're not allowed to play like that.
But the thing with that is that the money thing is like, why does that even matter anymore? That surely shouldn't be in the conversation because money now is just about player acquisition, so it's not about how much you spend, it's if you get the player or not. If the player fits the system, if the player's a success.
That sounds like you're coming from a rich club.
Yeah, that does sound like you're from a rich club.
Little QPR can't spend anything.
Yeah, we don't have that money.
But then QPR spent loads when they were in the Premier League and got relegated, right? You spent loads on like Rio Ferdinand. You made some bad financial mistakes.
Yes, I
remember. If you hadn't signed those players, right, and you'd used your money before we jump in it, if you'd used your player acquisition better and you got players. We could have got, someone like Mahrez would have been on the market over at Le Havre. Kante would have been over in France. If you'd acquired better players, no matter what the fee, you would have stayed up.
He's got a point.
Just about. But if you've got more money, then you can buy better things. That's a fact. And Man United have a hell of a lot of money.
That's one point. But also, you see with Southampton how well they've done recently by signing players, getting them, then selling them. And then, the teams that have bought them look very silly.
They've worked very, very hard to do that. I get that.
So
but at the top level, it comes to a point of the scouting's not as difficult.
Okay, for example, Henrik Mkhitaryan, Eric Bailly, that was 30 mil and 24 mil, two of our best players we've signed in the last 5 years, I'd say.
Yeah, at the time, a lot of money.
At the time compared to 75 million or 100 million or Neymar 180 million.
That's a year on though, isn't it? It's a different market.
Same market.
It's a different market.
Exactly.
It's
the
a
same
year
market.
on.
Yeah, but it's still there's still money going around for players. I think with football, the Bale transfer or the Ronaldo transfer, from then on, that's the flat fee. If you go back and you look at any player that's moved that's a big player since that date, they'll be for plus 70 mil. Gonzalo Higuaín to Juve. You know, anyone that's big. Pogba to United.
The Pogba one is looking good. All that said, aside from goalkeepers, which two England captains since 1966 never scored for their country?
Which two? Say it really.
You never get that one. That's not even fair. If you know, let us know in the comments. Who joined Liverpool from Celtic in 1977 for 400,000? Should get this. And fitting for Liverpool versus Man United.
Kenny Dalglish?
Correct. Well done.
Well done.
He
does know everything about
does seem
football.
to know a lot. Let's move on from Man United versus Liverpool. Put your score predictions in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, and let us know if you agree with Dave about the money aspect of it all.
I need to change people's opinions on football. First,
And
Ferguson
Mourinho
and being
well.
defensive.
I think that's really interesting.
And also
Mourinho.
with player acquisition. I think player acquisition is closer to NBA than actually football these days.
Can I ask just one quick question before we move on? Thank you, mate. What do you... yeah, not very good. You're obviously you watch football in a certain way and you understand the game on a tactical level that most fans don't. I certainly don't. It's actually quite fascinating listening to you talking about planes and because it makes sense right now that you've said it. But does it destroy your enjoyment somewhat when watching? Like when you see Man United players out of space, and I don't see it. I don't know they're doing something wrong, but you see it and going, "What the fuck is he doing?"
Look at it this way. So, lucky enough to work in football, I think that's great as it is.
Yeah.
I get to watch football, and that's my job. I get to watch like Atletico Madrid. I get to go to what the San Mamés and watch Bilbao versus Atletico.
Stop showing off.
Come back and go. Okay, Atletico this season look really good tactically. Back in the day, I was a football fan that followed United around Europe. I went away to the Super Cup to watch United versus Zenit. Been away to AC Milan to when Ronaldinho played, David Beckham played. Been to Glasgow twice. Been Leeds United away. I'm a football fan before anything.
Yeah.
It's different. I'll give you that. Around the game at United, I used to go down and drink like 4 or 5 beers, have a sing song, have a great time. But now, because I have the opportunity to work in football, I have to take it in a professional manner. I can't now go and have 10 pints and then give a decent analysis on a game. So it's kind of that different thing where if there's an opportunity for 1 game a season, 2 games a season, like the League Cup last year, had a few drinks before the game, had a really good time. You can always go back to that.
Yeah.
So for me, if I get to work in football for an extended amount of time, that's fine because I can always go back to go to the pub with my mates and go and watch United.
I get that, but and I completely appreciate that. But I'm talking about on a tactical level when you're looking and you can see teams that are not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
It's even more exciting.
Do you know what?
Yeah, it's even more interesting.
Yeah, because I guess there's different ways of liking football. Do you love it for the moment? The moment that ball crosses the line, you get to go mad. And that's even better when you're drunk.
Of course.
Yeah.
But also being like the curiosity of football and figuring out, having a few more answers must be quite nice as well. Do you know what I mean?
Sometimes it's not there. Sometimes you watch something 3 times and you're still like, why has that happened? And you watch it and you're like.
But I think that's almost a good thing too, isn't it? Because that means you can still have a bit of magic. It can still be like, and then anything can still happen in football too.
And obviously one of the kind of the thing that strikes the line through all of that is just a kind of wonder strike, where it's just like
a thunder bastard.
So I think it goes back to like maybe 2 seasons ago when it was like February time and like I was watching so much football. I was like, oh my god, I'm actually getting sick of football. And then I'm making dinner and I sit down and Lewandowski scored 5 goals in like 10 minutes.
That's
like,
right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or like for example last year PSG Barcelona. You're like watching that second leg, you're like, wow. Yeah. Or you're watching the Monaco City game, which I reckon was the best game last season. Both of the whole tie was probably my favourite 90 minutes of football. Well, that's a really good game of football. So there's even though there's this other side where it's like looking at it and analysing it, you still get the enjoyment. I'm not like sitting there being like, this is really rubbish.
It's not football by numbers, is it? And there are, that's a great example, PSG Barcelona's. There are intangibles that are created their tactical flaws because
Exactly.
they shut themselves.
Yeah,
Didn't they? Because they were like, oh, we're not going to throw this away, are we? Are we? We are, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay, it's happening. The ball gets sucked into the goal.
Yeah.
So with
That's
that as
great.
well, that takes a real, like a psychological side to it. That's not really tactical. What happened? It was tactical in the sense that Barcelona built a really good platform to play out of. Playing the three at the back and Tafort and Titi was great that night. But at the same time, that was mentally crumbling. That was being really, really weak. Even when they scored the goal, like what, management, Unai Emery, who's a really good manager, why didn't he change something? Why didn't he go 5 at the back? Why not? He's got a lead in the Champions League, what was it, quarter-final? Last 16, whichever one it was.
Yeah.
It's one of these things where it's like football isn't just about kicking a ball into a net. There's all these other factors that pull things around. I think that's why it's interesting. It's almost like a science, I think, and that's probably why I'm around in a way.
Do well at science at school?
All right at science. Yeah. But I think, again, going back to the career-wise, would I rather be looking at spreadsheets and like making loads of money in banking, or would I rather be working in football? One of them's decent, but I really don't care about, and the other one's like, I actually care about this as a passion point, so I'd rather do that.
Absolutely.
Any advice to people? Always follow your dreams.
Other games this weekend, we're going to talk about just 2 more. Actually, we'll talk about a few, actually, before we get into universal football truths and soldiers lost in battle. Another tough week for a lot of people out there, which we'll be going through. Let's go Palace first. 6-4 to stay up. Do you think it's not good enough odds?
Well, they've lost 7 on the bounce.
7 on the
haven't
bounce.
scored a goal.
2 wins away from getting out of that. Will
They score
Hodgson,
a goal.
have you seen any kind of improvement in Palace in the 2 games? It's very difficult to say. 3 games, sorry. Because it's difficult to say because they've played United and Man City and they look a mess. They're near the end of that horrible road of those 3 games with Chelsea this weekend. You would expect the same thing to happen. A goal would almost be a triumph for them. But in the long run, do you think they'll stay up?
Yes. I honestly
do too.
I honestly think Roy Hodgson will eventually build a system that's difficult to break down. I think the thing that Roy Hodgson's got is that Sam Allardyce was manager last season and their principles are very similar.
Yeah, that's true.
And the problem with the ball was you're going from one principle to the other. You're basically on the scale of defensive, aggressive, long ball football to Ronald de Boer, who's like basically Louis van Gaal reincarnated in terms of his style and how stylistically they play. And I think that's kind of the problem with Palace. I think the thing with Palace as well is they'll get halfway through the year, the things that the Boers try to go through with them and teach them, it'll click. And they'll start. I reckon they'll score a goal this season that will be like a 20-pass move.
I'm stopping there. I think they'll score a goal this season.
And I really think it'll be interesting to see them get structured because Roy Hodgson isn't a bad manager.
I agree.
It isn't a bad manager, but I think what he can't manage is egos. He needs people to believe in what he's doing.
Yeah.
You read anything about Clint Dempsey or any of the guys that were at Fulham when they got to the Europa League final, it was collective.
Yeah.
England
They need
wasn't
to be
collective.
lost enough to go, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And that's the situation at Palace right now.
Yeah.
So you reckon he's breaking them down?
I don't think he's going to try and break them down. I think he has one way of doing it, doesn't he?
No,
but it will get you to a certain level with mediocre players.
He's essentially he's forcing them to lose, so they become weaker. So then he can pick them up and say, "Look, I love you.
Yeah,
I'm going to take care of you."
And what he'll do with that is he'll put them into a 4-4-2 and he'll drill them in a 4-4-2. And every single training session, I think it was might have been Danny Murphy talking about it. Was talking about his training sessions where they were so boring.
Yeah.
But after a while, they started playing and they started winning because they were drilled
great
so
football.
well.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing. You look at the 4-4-2. 4 of the teams of the Champions League semi-finals played a 4-4-2. Yeah, Reals was a diamond, but it was still a 4-4-2.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Like the 4-4-2?
It's a great system. I think it gives you a lot in a goal scoring situation. I think ultimately it's a counter-attacking system.
Why was it abandoned? Just briefly.
Briefly because Mourinho brought an extra central
Industrial
midfielder in,
revolution,
and everyone switched to that system because it worked. Like we're seeing Conte 3-4-3. Why a lot of teams are playing through at the back because teams get successful with the system, people copy it.
Yeah.
That's it. So the 4-4-2 went out because they lost control of central midfield, and the central midfielders in a 4-4-2 were quite simple in what they did back in the day, and they now have evolved.
Yeah.
In a way.
Fascinating.
Personal jinx. Spurs to win at Wembley.
I don't know what that means.
Personal jinx? Everyone knows what that means, isn't it? If you say the same word at the same time.
Did
if
we?
I say personal jinx, you're not allowed to talk until I say your name 3 times.
Okay.
Flav, flav, flav. So you can play, because the podcast would be detrimental. Spurs to win a game at Wembley. They've got Bournemouth, second bottom. They've got 4 points. One very quick thing I wanted to talk about was Trippier, who I think is an interesting player. A player I saw a few years ago. We were talking about it earlier today. I saw him at Burnley QPR when Burnley went up in the Championship, and it's very rare that I'm like, wow, like, because I'm looking at my guys, I'm looking at QPR and how we're playing, but I remember thinking he's great, and his crossing ability in particular was just superb, which is something I don't think is a skill that is underperformed regularly by a lot of players, because there's that focus on speed and things like that. 6 of Trippier's 9 Premier League assists for Spurs have been for Kane, all of them coming away from home. That's not important, that bit.
Probably the case for all of our players as well. Most of their assists come from
possibly, but I do keep seeing that cross from Trippier and then Kane putting it in.
Mm-hmm.
That's a massive weapon for them this year. What do you think about Trippier?
I think Trippier's a good player. I think he's limited, but he's good. He does one thing, like you're saying, gets to near the final third and he crosses. The thing with Kyle Walker is he could do both. Kyle Walker could hit the byline and he could cross from deep. He could track back.
Could he cross?
Forward. He wasn't anywhere near as good Trippier, but he was
good enough.
He was good enough.
It was different. I think it was a different
it's byline and you're pulling it.
Yeah,
back,
I think that's a big thing, and I think that suited Spurs a bit more, to be quite honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think Trippier's in that team because he's a better player than Walker or got the nod at the end. It's due to his attitude. I think Pochettino's gone on record and saying I love Davies and I love Trippier because they fought their way into that team, even though he doesn't really suit Pochettino's system. Last year he registered 0 successful take-ons. He didn't go past the player once.
Somehow like that.
But in the same way that Beckham, he knows his limitations.
Yeah.
He's not going to learn something or try and become something.
Do what you're good at. Yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to become trained on something that he's only ever going to be mediocre at. So he knows he's not going to get past people, so that's why he's so good at crossing. He's learnt that skill. Obviously, as we've seen, as Aurier's come in, he's much more like Walker was, and Trippier's found his way back on the bench. But I like him. I like the fact that he doesn't complain. He gets on with it, but his effectiveness isn't as good as Walker's or Aurier's.
On a very slightly broader point from Trippier, is this a hoodoo, a Wembley hoodoo, or a Wembley curse? Let's figure that out right now. Let's know in the comments if this is a hoodoo or a curse. I've got the definition of both. Okay. Let's decide it right now, and we can move forward. Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's a hoodoo is a personal thing that brings or causes bad luck. Okay. So Wembley is causing bad luck. A curse is a solemn utterance intended to invoke a supernatural power to inflict harm or punishment on someone or something.
Both of those feel right.
Right.
Because someone's done that.
If it is a curse, who's creating this curse? Who's put that curse on? Who's been uttering?
Talk
to me, Flav.
It's got to be an Arsenal fan. Absolutely. They can't just let us get on with it.
Yeah.
Let's beat Tottenham on the pitch. They've got to try and master the dark arts.
Who won the last game at Wembley last season? Competitive.
Who won the last game? Oh my God.
Arsenal. It's all making sense.
Arsenal.
It's Arsenal.
So what Arsenal did after that cup final, they did something.
They've done something, haven't they? Wenger's had a wee in each corner, hasn't he?
I reckon it's Mustafi.
Do you think it's Mustafi? What's he at?
Yeah.
Who's most likely out of the Arsenal team
Mustafi
to put a curse on Spurs?
He looks the type.
Is it not? Yeah, it's not Walcott or Wilshere. Walcott be on that, but Walcott's a bit too straight-laced to be putting curses on things.
And Wilshere can't read, so it wouldn't be him.
Yeah.
Mustafi. I'm going for Mustafi. Mustafi.
And is it a curse or is it a hoodoo?
It could be both of those things.
Because a hoodoo feels like it can be broken. The curse is a lot harder to do.
Yeah. I mean, let's move on. It doesn't matter.
Choose.
Hoodoo feels better. What?
Hoodoo. Fine. Thank you. It's the Brian Clough Trophy this weekend.
Hey.
Derby versus Nottingham Forest. 2 incredibly mid-table teams. Incredibly mid-table.
But not a lot is made of that rivalry outside of.
They do proper hate each other. I've got a mate who's a Derby fan. He hates how Forest are like their history FC, always going on about the European Cups that they won, and so often, I swear I see the Derby Forest game and it's a manager's first game or it's their last game. Because someone's just got, they need to be ready for that derby. It's a big game. They really, really do hate each other. What I found interesting was that I loved that 2 mid-table teams playing for a trophy in the middle of the season.
Yeah, they've made up a trophy.
The 13th game of the season, whatever it is.
But I like that. I like the fact that there's set traditions. There's things that don't have any relevance to football at all. But they're creating a tradition that's important to fans. Is there a trophy, and is it the urn of Brian Clough?
I don't think it is the urn of
Brian. So Brian Clough comes to live with us for a year.
Well, that might be quite nice, mightn't it?
Yeah.
I was thinking, are there other trophies for different rivalries? Because there's a criteria here with Brian Clough. Loved by both sets of fans.
Yeah.
Completely adored by both sets of fans. So I've got a couple here, but it'd be interesting to know, again, in the comments, or you can tweet us at Ball Street. who would be the player for the trophy for the rivalry that you have? So they've got to have played for basically. So for example, Arsenal versus Spurs. So it could be.
No.
It could be.
I know what you're going to say.
Sol Campbell Trophy.
Would not be Sol Campbell Trophy, obviously.
What would Rowan Ricketts Trophy?
Closer.
We're getting there.
But maybe the
Pat Jennings.
Billy Gallus Trophy.
Billy Gallus. Yeah, William Gallus. I would don't know him as well as you.
I would say the Pat Jennings is definitely one because he was released by Tottenham, considered to be past it, taken on by Arsenal and played for about 8 years for them.
Really?
But then came back to us. So,
wow.
Well, no, he didn't come back to us as a player, as a club ambassador and as a coach.
Right, I see what you mean.
Hands like absolute shovels.
Still, do you know what I like about players from the 70s that they keep the same haircut? Certain people keep the same haircut.
If it works, it works.
Yeah, it does. Jerry Francis, it doesn't. If you're watching, just whip it off.
It's clever work, Jerry.
How has someone not gone just whilst he's asleep got rid of it? This week, Wolves versus Villa, Joleon Lescott Trophy.
Yeah.
Not sure he's overly loved by Aston Villa.
Wouldn't it be? Actually, I might get the Wolves wrong. I'm pretty sure I saw him at Wolves with Daly and Atkinson. Did he play for Wolves?
Yeah, I think he did, you know.
I'm pretty sure
I think he did. Stephen Froggatt as well, an option there. If you're looking for him as a trophy.
Yeah.
Man United versus Liverpool, the Paul Ince Trophy.
Yeah.
Adored by
tasty.
both.
No, I don't.
Do Man United fans like him?
I don't think he's, in the same bracket as any of the greats. What about Dennis Law for Man City versus United?
That's a good one.
That
is
the
a
Dennis Law
Trophy.
Yeah,
that sounds nice. Dennis Law Trophy. That's
very
good.
nice.
Sol Campbell Trophy. Sorry, I said that already. The Ray Wilkins Trophy or the Gavin Peacock Trophy. There's a lot for Chelsea QPR.
Well, hang on, it's QPR Brentford's the proper rivalry, isn't it?
No, Chelsea QPR.
Okay.
That would be the Stan Bowles Trophy.
Right.
So yeah, I just thought I'd run through a few there. If you've got any little favourite ones,
I like that.
Let us know. And maybe contact your club.
Would the Barcelona and Real Madrid, not derby, but rivalry, be called the Figo?
The Figo, that'd be tasty.
Figo Trophy.
Weird trophies. So the champions of Portugal used to play the champions of Spain. That was the first Barcelona game I ever watched. Was Peter Schmeichel was in goal for Sporting Lisbon, and they had Clivert and Saviola up front for Barcelona.
Saviola,
Championship manager, Butte, wasn't
it? What a team!
Javier Saviola.
It takes you back, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it does.
What a player.
Okay, it's that time, Flav. Universal. No, that's not the bad bit.
Right.
Universal football truths. So I started this last week. I like a little bit, don't I? I like little segments, don't I?
The people like it.
So, yeah, it seems to. We've got a few from you guys, so I'm going to read. I'm going to see how long the song goes, and we'll go through a few universal footballing truths. Feel free to pass commentary on them as we go along.
Go ahead.
It's a creepy thing, though. These universal football truths.
Can you turn it up?
Okay, go ahead. So the first one comes from Simeon5. Universal football truth is that Arsenal captains leave the club within a year after receiving captaincy.
Yeah. Have you got the list?
There were a few. So
Fabregas,
Van Persie, Henry.
Yep.
There was another one as well. Let me know.
All right.
So that is a universal football truth.
Also players,
Tony Adams doesn't work. But
players that move north from Arsenal to either Manchester United or Manchester City go on to win
the league.
Premier League.
Yeah.
Footballing truths.
Spooky. Bradley Holmes. I had to. Hang on, that's different thing.
So you've blown your load.
No. Football. So positive comment. Football is in perpetual state of decline, according to anyone over the age of 38.
Yeah, absolutely. You get to an age where football, when you're in your teen, you're wide-eyed, you're excited about everything, you're singing songs, you're starting songs. You get into your 20s and you start to withdraw somewhat. Drink becomes more of less of a kind of
a problem,
or a way of making you excited about football, and you become more philosophical. But you're still excited. You get into your 30s, and then you're starting to get a little bit bitter, and then you're where I am, where it's in a perpetual state of decline.
Yeah, you're not 38 yet, so you've gone early, have you? You've turned sour.
I turned sour at about 27, but then I've got a propensity for these things.
Fair enough. Where is it? Every football fan believes we always do it the hard way. Every football fan believes that. It's a universal football truth.
Yeah.
And then we've got a few each. Goalkeeper ones actually is quite big on it. Here's one from me actually. Mine's not got nothing to do with goalkeepers. If you have a jalfrezi on a Saturday night and play football on a Sunday morning, you will regret that curry. I had it this Sunday. It won't stop you doing it again though. Universal football truth.
Did you poo yourself on the pitch?
Mate, no, I didn't. But I felt very fragile. Very fragile.
What would you have done should you, in the unfortunate event of...
Would you have
white shorts actually as well?
Wow.
Dangerous. Dangerous time.
Done a Lineker.
Yeah.
Just dropped it off.
Just rubbed it off on the grass.
He was like a
Grim.
little dog.
He
Wasn't
was, wasn't he? That's disgusting.
His legs went up in the air and he just dragged himself
That's
along.
all you can do, really, right?
I don't know. I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be able to concentrate on the game if I wasn't like playing football and I knew there was a poo on the pitch. I'd be quick looking. Like, look, am I near the poo? How near am I to the poo?
Imagine that then. So for example, the opposite man.
Yeah.
Your opposite man could stand by the poo,
Yeah.
and psychologically, you've lost that already. You've lost that battle.
Yeah, I'm done. I'll be like, take me off. I'll forget. I can't cope with this. There's human poo on the pitch. Like, this is disgraceful.
Wow. The final two. Goalkeepers for a team in the lead post 75 minutes cannot and will not release a football unless they've held it in their hands for at least 9 seconds.
So when I was growing up, I was always acutely aware of the opposing goalkeeper wasting time, holding on to it.
Oh, it's glaring, isn't it?
Switching to either side of the 6-yard box to take place kicks. And it always, in my head, as I remember, we always scored against them eventually.
Did you?
Waste time there, you mug!
Really?
Waste time there!
And last one.
There's a football hooligan.
Last one this week. So let us know your universal footballing truths. We'll read them out next week. If the ball is played back to a goalkeeper, all players must and will give that person who gives the ball back a gentle clap.
Yeah. Another one of that's just an extension to that.
Oh, well done, mate. Well done.
Is a nod back, a jumping nod back to the keeper, or a flick on from.
Flick on backwards from a centre back.
Yeah, rapturous applause from
incredible.
the home support. But it's not actually. It's a very simple skill to do.
It is very.
I don't know. It's under pressure.
No.
Seen it go wrong
Simple. Have you? Really?
many times.
And that was universal footballing truths.
Well done.
We're learning. Yeah, you with your stats and your numbers.
Yeah.
That Jao Frazee one.
Another
That's the truth. Put that in your money.
You haven't done anything wrong, but I'll give you another question.
Yeah, go for it.
Right, who replaced David Seaman as England's third choice goalkeeper in the 1990 World Cup squad after Seaman injured his thumb in training? That is tough.
Tim Flowers?
No, but you're.
What's the
kind
question?
Who replaced David Seaman as England's third choice goalkeeper in the 1990 World Cup squad after Seaman was injured?
David Besson.
What is wrong with you?
Did you get it right?
Mate, I am a trivia.
Have you read that before?
No, I knew that.
You were 6 years old.
Oh no, yeah, but you learn it later. I didn't learn it at like that
6.
time. You don't know. You watch documentaries and things.
Right.
I was going to say Nigel Martin.
Nigel Martin.
Yeah.
That would have been a good shout as well.
He was, you know what? He was so underrated and should have had a lot more caps. I thought Nigel Martin was incredible. Anyway,
Nigel Martin was incredible.
he was incredible. I thought he was an amazing goalkeeper.
Amazing, incredible.
I
These
just
are
don't know why he
superlatives.
didn't win the Ballon d'Or, to be quite honest.
These are
They don't give it to goalkeepers, unfortunately.
Well,
but they
Oliver
should.
Kahn got it. 2002. Hello. No, it wasn't.
No,
It was
it wasn't. It was
bollocks.
different.
Fuck.
Do you think that's an issue?
Right.
That players that aren't forwards can't win it? For example, right,
Issue. I mean, I think there's bigger things to worry about.
the prime problem, Casemiro, the best defensive midfielder in world football right now, doesn't get in there. Sadio Mane, Coutinho get in. Edin Dzeko gets in.
Yeah, that's odd.
Casemiro didn't even get in the top 30, did he?
No.
Which is madness.
Only Ronaldo scored more goals in the knockout stage
Do
of
you
the
think
Champions
Casemiro's
League
better
than
than
Casemiro.
N'Golo Kante?
Yeah, of course.
Why, of course?
Because he's just won back-to-back Champions Leagues playing as a defensive midfielder for Real Madrid.
For Real Madrid.
Yeah, but then again, for Real Madrid, so Rafa Benitez is Real Madrid, struggled, and Ancelotti's at the back end of it, struggled because they didn't have a defensive midfielder. Casemiro's just come in and he's been unbelievable. Has he been sent off in the Champions League knockout stages, given that he fouls about 25,000
But
times per game?
would he have won the league with Getafe as Kante did with Leicester?
Good point.
With Getafe?
Yeah.
Talking, if we,
Come on,
roll
I
it
don't-
up to maybe Espanyol and we've got a yes.
Right. Thank you for your cheat. Which 9 players have scored for 6 different Premier League clubs? All right, give us 3 or 4.
Andy Cole,
Yes.
Robbie Fowler,
You know.
Dwight York,
6 different Premier League clubs.
6.
Which 9 players have scored for 6? Give us 3.
Dwight York?
They've played 6 different Premier League clubs.
Anelka.
Anelka's
Anelka,
one.
yeah.
It's the answer to any
Nice.
trivia question.
Andy Cole.
Nicholas Anelka.
Ashley Ward.
Trying to think of the goal scoring players that have moved around a
Do
lot.
you want me to give you more?
Give us a clue for one.
He played for QPR.
Oh,
Striker.
Les Ferdinand.
Yes, well, it's a cue for him. Isn't it?
Sorry.
good work.
Marcus Bent, Nick Barmby, Craig Bellamy, Darren Bent,
Craig
Peter
Bellamy,
Crouch,
Darren
Robbie
Bent, of
Keane.
course.
That's so crowd.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Right, it's that last bit of the show, but such an important one, Flav. I'll get it ready. You tee me up. Off you go, soldiers and nothing about.
I mean, we all at times experience very difficult periods in our life, and sometimes those periods are around football. And football by some is considered a trivial thing, a pastime, but we all know it's much more than that. And sometimes other things in life pull us away from the thing that we love. And herein lies soldiers lost in battle. Take us away, James.
Bradley Holmes. I had to miss the Merseyside derby because I had to buy my cousin a birthday present. I read the wrong date. His birthday wasn't till next month. Jonathan T4. I love how he writes, soldiers lost in battle. He's written a letter. The date was the 10th of May 2014. The semi-finals of the League One playoffs. Preston North End versus Rotherham United, Deepdale. Going into the break, 0-1 down, we were despondent, we'd played poorly, and the only way we could get back into the game would be some kind of miracle. I was at the game with my Japanese flatmate, and as he'd never been to a football match before, I told him to wait in his seat for half-time and take it all in. I'd get him his drink. Coca-Cola was his choice. The queue was long, the staff were rude. When I eventually got to the front, the second half had already started. Nothing ever happens at the start of the half, I thought. I heard the roars as we equalised. I was gutted. I'd missed the celebrations. All I could hope is that it was a tap-in or a fluky goal, but no. It was that Preston North End goal, the goal. Joe Garner had scored the best goal that Deepdale has ever seen, and I had been paying £2.50 for a bottle of Coke for a Japanese bloke when it was going in. The goal is still on Sky Sports adverts to this day. I weep every time it's on. Time doesn't heal all wounds, only some.
Bravo! That was a belter.
Marcus Gardner. My cricket club had a function at a local nightclub. Vodka Red Bulls on a special $3. I had 15 of the bastards and ended up in hospital, resulting in missing the last North London derby at White Hart Lane where Spurs won 2-0. I haven't touched a Red Bull since. Joe Cabana. I was at a game, nothing was really happening. I decided 5 minutes before the break that I would go to the toilets. I wasn't the only one who thought this, so I got in line. Someone then came in to have a pee. The person looked me dead in the eye as he entered the room, and I know he knew I was taking a poo. I had finally become a victim of poo-Q shame.
Poo-Q shame. For those that don't know, this is something that James suffered when he was at QPR.
I didn't suffer it.
Who was it?
I spotted someone and he suffered it.
Right, so James is on this thing. Just to recap,
Yeah.
He's got this thing where at football that there are some people that feel shame if they decide to have a poo, and his eyes connected with someone, and they looked at him for a second, and then put their eyes down because they knew that James knew that they were going to go for a poo. Yeah. And I said that isn't a real thing, but apparently
Poo-Q shame is a real thing. To explain, when you're a man going to the football, there are a load of urinals there, but there will only be 2 cubicles. So if there's a load of urinals there, and someone's in those 2 cubicles, and you're waiting for the cubicles, I know why you need that. And if I see you and we lock eyes, there's a moment, and you know, and I know, that you're having a poo at the football, and that's Poo-Q shame.
You probably got to, you got to plan these things, right? You got to know you're going to be at the football for at least 90 minutes.
You've got to take the risk, you go at 30 minutes. And if you miss a goal, you miss a goal. Because the last thing you want is poo.
I don't.
Shame.
You should be spending the whole week getting your body functioning, so when the 3 o'clock kickoff's there, 3 o'clock till 6 o'clock, you're sweet.
Yeah, one word, Imodium. Right, final thing before we finish. We're going to do a couple of talking points on the FanLeague YouTube channel, chatting about Kane or Lukaku, who will finish top goal scorer, and Fellaini. Is he any good? And talk about that as well. Go subscribe to FanLeague's YouTube page, and you can check out those. We're going to do a couple of bits with the guests each week. And also download the FanLeague app, like we said before, so you can play along with us.
Is in the description
below.
The link
is in the description.
Or search on the App Store if you're listening to this on the iPod.
Absolutely. Sven, I'm meeting Sven tomorrow.
Yeah, that's blown my mind.
It's
You're getting on a plane to Malta to meet
to party with Sven.
Sven-Göran Eriksson.
He's given me a call. He does voice notes.
Yeah.
And he was like, James, you must come.
Yeah.
Is that possibly? Anyway, I'm meeting Sven, and he is a FanLeague brand ambassador, like Jimmy A. himself. Say, guys, a lot of things to talk about. We can chew the fat. 8 out of 13, his average so far.
Do you reckon when he looks on the app and he sees Sven-Göran Eriksson, Ian McIntosh, respected journalist, and then James Alcott?
Yeah.
He's
He
like,
just goes,
who is this James?
So who's this?
Who's this James Alcott?
And then a guy with a horse's head on called the Gaffer,
The Gaffer,
who's supposed to know it all, and his average is lower than all of us. Anyway, because it's an app where you got to predict the games, I thought just a very, very quick thing. Let us know in the comments, and I'll see if I can ask him. Keep an eye on our Instagram stories. I'll see if I can do a quick Instagram story of Sven, and I'm asking these 3 questions, and we'll give our answers right now. What is Sven's favourite colour? Because he's managed every team, every colour, hasn't he?
I would say light blue, Lazio.
Sky blue, yeah.
You think? Yeah, really? You've both gone for sky blue.
Actually, I'm gonna go darker blue.
Really?
Yeah. So you want to go sky? I'll go like a little bit
Like
more
a royal
of
blue.
a few shades north.
I think he's a passionate guy. I think it's a hot red. Yeah,
Wait,
like a red wine
you're
red,
about to
like
say
a mulberry.
Passionate
Like a
guy.
mulberry.
It's got to be a pink.
Yeah. What is Sven's favourite band or singer? Or
Black Sabbath.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think he's like so calm all the time, and then he just gets in, locks his room,
Megadeth.
Megadeth, woof, and then what used to be his hair there, just a little bit of head banging.
Giving it some.
Not an ABBA fan. That's your obvious one, isn't
Foo
it?
Fighters.
You think he's a Foo Fighters? man?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think
Just
he's,
walking, I don't want to be your monkey red.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay. I'm gonna go Luther Vandross. Don't know why. And what is Sven's favourite food?
Meatballs.
Yeah. IKEA meatballs.
Yeah, it's got to be spaghetti,
Great
right?
value.
Yeah.
Great
Love.
values. Great value there. Yeah, I can't recommend IKEA meatballs enough. I feel like I'm stereotyping him a little bit. Anyway,
Well, I just
I do with the meatballs.
Yeah.
That was my fault.
tinned meatballs.
I'm rambling. That's one for the weekend. Statman Dave, thank you so much, mate, for coming in. It was brilliant.
Cheers,
I
man.
tell you what, your score prediction?
For the United game, 1-0 United. It's going to be well boring.
Okay. How is it? Lovely.
I think this is going to be an absolute ding dong. After the disaster of Red Monday, this is going to be a perler of a game.
Okay.
Probably won't be watching it. But
They're not. You're busy.
No,
Where can people find you, mate?
YouTube, Statman Dave, just search it. On Google as well, Twitter, Facebook, all that type of thing.
Usual deal. Go and check out Statman Dave. If it's the first time you've ever heard the man talk, he knows his stuff. And his videos are fantastic, so go and check them out. If you haven't subscribed to Ball Street yet, do it right now. Thank you. That's very kind of you. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, get your comments in, get your Universal Football Truths in, get your Soldiers Lost About. We want some of the saddest stories. We love to read them out each week, so make sure you get them in. And as you saw this week, we will read them out, and we will see you next week.